Welcome to the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. I'm a former brick and mortar store owner turned retail expert who is passionate about entrepreneurship and has experienced the highs and lows of running a retail business. Whether you're a seasoned retail veteran or an aspiring store owner, consider me your guide on this store owning journey. If you're looking to run a profitable and growing business that doesn't drain you, follow my 6 stages of shopkeeping and subscribe to this show. Join me for a journey of continuous learning where protecting your mind, maximizing profit, and determining your own schedule are a priority. Get ready to work smarter, profit more, and grow your retail business. Welcome to episode 225 of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. From Bottlenecked to Calm in Q4, a retail in-store intensive case study. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. So I feel like it's been a little while since I've talked about where I'm at on my journey and all the things that are happening with me. And just to kind of quickly catch you up, I am just getting adjusted to this new summertime schedule with Logan. He's participating in lots of sports activities before he starts high school. So we're doing all of the running around. We're in the middle of this heat wave in Cleveland, Ohio this week. So spending a lot of time inside in the air conditioning where it's nice and cool. I am working on quite a few projects, but I'm really proud of myself in the sense that I always have a million ideas in my brain, and they were starting to clutter my workflow or just my ability to produce content and do things. So I kind of slowly pressed on the brake, regrouped, got all of those ideas and things organized, especially in terms of when can I get them done and how can I get them done. So I had to be very realistic about the schedule. You know, there's resources for master shopkeepers I want to create. There's podcast episodes I want to record. There are people that I want to interview. There are calculators that I want to build for master shopkeepers. And then there's the work that goes into it. Is the calculator helpful? Is there anything I can do to improve it? There are always a lot of balls that I'm juggling, and I'm trying to get that from maybe 20, 30 balls to like 10. Just to make the process easier for myself. So those are the things that I've been doing, and I do feel a little more at peace, especially after certification, because I was so focused on getting certified as a coach that a lot of other things got pushed back. So I'm happy to say things are moving along smoothly. It's a little bit of an adjustment to go from weekly podcast episodes to bi-weekly. I actually hope that is serving you well. That's really important to me. I felt like some people were getting behind and not listening or not able to listen as frequently, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to overwhelm any of you more than you're probably already overwhelmed in running your businesses. So that's a little bit about me. I'll try to catch you all up as I move forward. I have lots of things planned in the future. You will hear about them. I might do a couple bonus episodes over the summer too, but for now, let's talk about this episode. And my intention for this episode is to share about one of the several really cool things that we do in Master Shopkeeper. So last year, I gave away an in-store intensive experience. And you might be wondering, what is an in-store intensive? It's a hands-on, true one-on-one coaching program where I provide personalized guidance, real-time feedback, of course, strategies, and then an in-person visit, a full-day in-person visit, so that I can enhance a store and the business owner's productivity or just their overall joy in the business, hopefully bring some of that back again if they're struggling with it. And this is done through a series of Zoom calls and then the one big in-store event. So yes, I travel to the store owner's actual store and spend a whole day in there with them after we've done some of the preliminary work on Zoom. So last year's winner was a store owner in the Portland area. And the process for this in-store intensive, it occurred from April to August. So it takes time. And we'll just call her Patty. because I didn't ask her for permission to use her name. So if you were in Master Shopkeepers, you know who it is, and I will talk about the full case study that's available in Master Shopkeepers, but we're just going to call her Patty for the sake of storytelling. I chose this particular store owner and Master Shopkeepers member for many reasons, but one in particular was to set her up for success with systems in her busiest season, and that is Q4. Her busiest season of the year and the time that she struggled with the most because of the volume of inventory that arrived early and then in turn sold towards the end of the year. So if you are a typical gift shop, anyone who spikes up sales in November and December, you know what I'm talking about, because for those of you who have stores like that, your inventory starts to come in July and August, and it builds and builds and builds. And if you don't have a warehouse or a large storage facility, this can be extremely challenging. So after meeting with her on Zoom, we identified 3 goals for her gift shop. And I would say it wasn't just like one meeting on Zoom. Her application was really detailed, so that helped me prepare. And then I think we spent 1 or 2 hours on Zoom, and that's when we really unpacked the 3 main goals for this in-store intensive. The first one was set up an inventory intake system and storage, like in terms of like getting her storage spaces organized. And this was really to lessen the overwhelm, particularly before and during Q4, by creating a system for each storage room and a comprehensive, consistent system for all team members, because she does have a team. And part of this involved helping Patty delegate more. Goal number 2 was a buying system and strategy. So we did this to create a more efficient inventory data analysis system for Patty. We wanted to cut the time that she was spending in the buying process, and we actually quantified it. We said we were going to cut that from 80% to 40%. Patty felt like she was spending way too much time here. But I want to add that what we unpacked during our time together was really enlightening around this particular goal. Goal number 3 was all about sales floor displays and categories. So we wanted to analyze and adjust inventory categories in order to make the buying process easier for Patty and to maximize the square footage in the retail store for, of course, for more revenue and growth. So after we identified these 3 big goals, we worked on solutions, right? Because not only do we want to set up the goal, but we want to work towards the goal. And the solutions were either determined, I think it was while I was on Zoom calls with her, but it was mostly from being in the store with her. It was that day. And I handle a lot on Zoom, and I support store owners this way, but it was extremely valuable and helpful to be in her store with her, to see the space, to see her talk about her business while I was in the store with her and walking through these actual spaces, to see things where they were getting bottlenecked and why, and then to see the progress she made prior to my arrival was just a really cool experience too. I remember when she sent me a second set of videos showing her progress. So what happens at the beginning, there's the application. I have the information from that. There's the initial 1 or 2 Zoom calls. So I take a ton of notes in that. And I always ask, send me pictures, send me videos. Like I want to see all the before early on. And I remember about halfway through into this process, she sent me a second set of videos showing her progress, particularly in her main storage room. It was essentially her inventory intake room. My jaw dropped when I saw that video. It was impressive just to see how much progress she made just based off of our conversations. This episode is brought to you by my new free resource, Valuable Data to Collect for Your Brick and Mortar Store. One of the questions I hear most often is, how is my business making money, but I'm not making money? I ran a profitable brick and mortar business from day one, and the reason why is because I used data to make decisions. In my new free guide, I'm sharing all the systems that I would set up and the data I would collect if I were to start a store from scratch again. Whether you're preparing to open or you've been open for years, it's never too late to start tracking. Visit savvyshopkeeper.com/data to get the guide. So when we identified the solutions, let me unpack that by the 3 goals. For the first one, for inventory intake, that was mostly working on like the system around the inventory intake and the way she was storing things. So we created a new plan for her 3 storage rooms. There was a back room, an upstairs room, and a basement room. Patty's in a really unique building and has access to multiple rooms that she was able to rent for all of this excess storage or all of this extra inventory. And that's really valuable to her because her business has grown a lot over the past 10 years. So she's been able to kind of grow into these additional storage rooms, but they were just a mishmash. They were very unorganized. Each room didn't serve an individual purpose. So that's one of the things that we worked on. Another thing was to create a new inventory intake system and procedures, like actual procedures. And the final thing we did in this area was we detailed like layouts for these spaces and created action plans so she would have something to move forward with. For goal number 2, with her buying system and strategy, we documented the step-by-step process for collecting the information that Patty needed. So maybe I should backtrack here. And I'll just simplify it. Patty was really beating herself up for the way she was doing her buying, her decision-making around buying. And what we realized is that was one of her gifts. So we had to just kind of go backwards. Instead of talking about buying in general, what we really needed to do was go back and see what was it that she was doing. And once we did that, we were able to identify some things that she could improve. Like, for example, handing off one part of her whole buying system and strategy that was really tedious and more data entry or data collecting. So we realized that what was going to serve her and what would help her cut all of that buying time in half was to go ahead and delegate parts of her process to a team member. We did some other things, of course. That's really simplifying it. But that was a solution that we did for her buying system and strategy. And then for goal number 3, for her sales floor displays and her categories, we did several things. One of the things that we did is we laid out a floor plan for her. That included, on occasion, depending on the category, to display categories together. Now, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and explain why, and that won't necessarily fit for everyone's business, but for Patty's business, it made sense. Of course, then we talked about continuing to use sales data to make decisions for particular categories. And as frustrating as it may be, I really wanted Patty to embrace her manual process, because this is where Patty was mentally struggling and really like beating herself up. And I won't get into the details of all of that, but essentially it was a manual process of like this decision making on ordering and reordering products for her store. But this is where the magic was happening in her business. I really think it's the reason why her business grew so much over the past, particularly 5 years. She created this manual system for herself using information from her point of sale system. And once I learned it, I realized that this is what helped Patty's business grow. And we had a whole conversation around that. And it was a big reframe for her, where she was spending so much time just beating herself up about that, when really what it was doing was helping her business grow. So we made the buying process simpler and easier and delegated parts of it. But overall, it was like, let that go, because this is actually serving you really well. So in the end, once we worked and identified on the goals, and we went through and worked on the solutions, I asked her to summarize some of the results that she got from this experience, and I identified some of the results too. So here's a list of results that Patty got from doing this in-store intensive. She definitely gained confidence. She minimized FOMO. I think for her, this one was more about realizing what an incredible business she's built and just to stay in her own lane and pay attention to her own business and stop looking at all the other shiny objects or other people that she might envy. It was more about minimizing that FOMO and focusing on herself and her business. Another thing that resulted from this was she started saying no, and it was just no to whatever, right? Like there are so many instances in business where we'll just say yes because it feels easier to say yes. So her saying no, definitely improving her inventory intake system. It for sure caused less stress during Q4. The one thing that I didn't mention, at one point, Patty joked with me and said that she would even have backstock in the bathroom, like boxes stocked up in the bathroom. And I don't say that in a judgmental way at all. We all experience this, right? Especially when we're heavy on inventory. But knowing that everything had its place and everything had a system around it and everything was organized and tagged and marked and easy to find, I know for sure caused less stress for her and her whole team. Another result is it really validated her as a buyer and a business owner. It gave her an injection of like energy and enthusiasm. She gained business metrics knowledge because, of course, we unpacked a lot of the financial numbers in her business. It gave her a sense of accomplishment. And in the end, at the end of the year, actually early on this year, I reached out and asked her overall, especially after time had passed, what some of the benefits were. And she did end up hitting her big annual revenue goal. There's a whole story around that and her sweet husband, but it was just nice to hear that. What Patty also said was that there were a lot of wins. I'll just quote her. She said, there were a lot of wins, and I know some are still to come. It has been financial, emotional, and physical, meaning the wins, not draining. I don't think I was draining her. So all that to say, it was a really great experience. And personally for me, even though I know the in-store intensive, obviously it isn't about me, right? I want to share these two things that I got from the experience. Because this first in-store intensive experience gave me two rewards. Number one, it really highlighted that this coaching and educating independent retailers is what I'm meant to be doing. And this happened at a time when I was in the process of preparing to offboard from my own store, the store I co-owned with my sister. So for me, it was an uncomfortable time and I was a bit unsure. I felt pretty good about my decision, but there's still always uncertainty. And this experience, however, it gave me a confidence boost too. So it gave her a confidence boost and it gave me a confidence boost in a different way. And it definitely gave me some validation about the decision that I made. Number two, and this was the sweetest bonus, was meeting her adorable family. So apparently Patty's kids would see me on Zoom. She's a Master Shopkeepers member. I think they would see me on Zoom or they would hear about me. Maybe she would mention me and group members or that she had to go to a meeting and to talk to all of us. And when reading my name on the screen, they thought my name was Kathy Cruz. It makes me laugh because they're so stinking cute. So after the intensive day, Patty and we went across the street to a local restaurant to enjoy getting off our feet while we indulged in like really yummy appetizers and a glass of wine. And then at the end of that, her husband arrived to pick her up and the kids were in the van and the van door opened and I heard them say, "It's Kathy Cruz. Kathy Cruz is here." And it was just so cute and so sweet. They were just so happy to see me and I was so happy to see them. It had to be one of the most adorable and heartwarming moments during this path of mine, and I'll never forget it. And as much as I love the numbers and systems, Again, this business really is about the people for me. So shout out to the kiddos, because I'm guessing Patty is going to have them listen to this and they're going to be wondering why I'm calling their mom Patty. But I just want to say hi. If you're a Master Shopkeepers member, you get full access to the entire case study. And I think this was a 12-page document. I created it in Canva because I really wanted to tell the journey from beginning to end of Patty's experience and the benefits of going through this. So if you haven't seen that case study and you want to download it, it's a 12-page PDF file. We'll link the case study in the show notes so that you can just quickly go into the lab and grab it. And some of you might be wondering, did I give an in-store intensive away this year? And yes, I sure did. I'm in the middle of another in-store intensive with the Master Shopkeepers member in Missouri, and I'll report back on that later this year or maybe next year, because again, these in-store intensives take time. And there's a reason for that. There's a lot to unpack in each of these businesses. And I want to make sure that I'm supporting the store owner the best way possible. So that means me really getting into the particulars of their business. And I give them a lot of credit because that can feel really vulnerable and scary or intimidating. But I love the way they show up. I love the way Patty showed up. She was ready to do the work. And the same way with this second in-store intensive winner, she is showing up in ways that I just didn't even expect. And I love to see it. And when I say I give this away, I mean it. Like, the Master Shopkeepers member and store owner doesn't pay for a thing. They don't pay for my time. They don't pay for my travel. None of it. This entire experience is free to them to help them and their business grow. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's time for me to go. In the meantime, if you want to learn about my in-store intensive offer, I actually do this as an offer. You can visit savvyshopkeeper.com/coaching. That's where all of my coaching offers are listed on my website. If you found this podcast episode helpful, please share it with a retail business friend or leave me a rating and a review on Apple Podcast. I really do appreciate that. I hope that this podcast, even with bi-weekly episodes or maybe with bi-weekly episodes, is serving you in the best way. If you want to see the show notes to this episode or find links to anything I mentioned, visit my blog at savvyshopkeeper.com/episode 225. Until the next episode, be savvy and boss up.